we are going to go over the diet. The diet. This particular diet is 1.75 plan. There will be differences between the 1.75 plan and the different plans that you get. Just look at the plan. The 1.25 plan doesn't have any fat in it. So for you people that are on the 1.25 plan, yes, there is no fat in the plan. There's fat in the foods that you're going to be consuming, but there's no added fat. But don't worry about that. You'll be all right. Okay, so going over the plan. First of all, you need to, for those of you who have done our 6-week challenge, this should look very similar to what you did in the challenge. For those of you that didn't do the 6-week challenge, you will need to get a food scale. You will need to weigh your foods out. You will need to weigh your foods out in the way that you will eat them. So you're not going to eat, 6 ounces of raw chicken, okay? So you're going to cook the chicken, and then you're going to weigh out 6 ounces, right? Kind of going through the list, anchovies, you can obviously eat those raw or you can eat them cooked. Just make sure that whatever the food is that you put into your mouth, if it's a protein, it weighs 6 ounces. Anything that you can, like oysters, you would obviously eat those without the shell on, right? The rest of the stuff is pretty self-explanatory as far as the protein goes. Okay, fruit. If it says 1.5 cups, so it's 1.5 cups of berries or 1.5 cups of cherries, use a 1 cup measurement and then use a 1/2 cup measurement. So don't use a 1 cup measurement and then fill it up halfway, right? That's not 1.5 cups. That's a guesstimate of 1.5 cups, right? Make sure you make sure you are as exact as possible. So if it says 1.5 cups, it's exactly 1.5 cups. You level off the cup, right? So that way we know it's exactly what it is supposed to be. If it is something that is fist size, it's what fits into your fist, right? And so if you do a banana and you have a little bit of banana sticking out, you would cut that off and you'd only eat what actually fits into your fists, okay? The veggies, basically, you can eat an unlimited amount of vegetables, as much veggies as you want. The general rule for veggies is if you're starving between meals, eat more vegetables. If you are not having a bowel movement every day, eat more vegetables. If you are incredibly stuffed and full, then eat less vegetables. And then for the starches and grain, on this particular plan, you are going to get starches and grains, starches and or grains on your workout days only, right? And I'll go over that in a little bit. As far as the fat goes, it's basically 1.5 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, virgin coconut oil, or avocado oil. And that's pretty self-explanatory. As far as the starches and grains, it's going to say cooked, 1.5 cups of mashed sweet potato. You're not going to be able to mash up a raw sweet potato. So that would obviously be, you boil it and then you put it into a 1 cup measurement and a 1/2 cup measurement. There's your 1.5 cups. If you do want to cook it other ways, so for instance, let's say you want to bake your sweet potato, that's fine. What you need to do is you need to boil it first, not boil it and then bake it. So what you need to do is you get a sweet potato, or get, let's see here, what else? Let's say you wanted to do the pumpkin instead of, mashing it, you wanted to do it in slices. Or let's say that you wanted to do the turnip, same thing with turnip, right? Let's say you wanted to saute it, or the winter squash, you wanted to saute it. So for some of this stuff, like the yams, the winter squash, not so much. For the winter squash, just, get a 1.5 cups as best as you can. That's not going to be a big deal. But for something like the yam or the sweet potato, if you want to bake it, I like to do, I like to cut it up into little circles and then bake in the oven. What you need to do is you need to figure out the weight first. So you got to get a sweet potato, you got to boil it, and then you got to mash it, or not, or just cram it into a cup and cram it into 1.5 cup, a 1/2 cup measurement, and then measure that out. And so you actually get a weight. I don't know what that weight is, but let's say that weight is 6 ounces. Now, when you go to bake your sweet potatoes, if you want to do fries, that's fine. When you go to do that, how many ounces you can have that's based on that 1.5 cup measurement, okay? All right, any questions, please post them in the group, and then I will get back to them. Okay, so next is this handy little graph here. This is basically, so again, I'm looking at the 1.75 plan. Breakfast and lunch is the same. So I get a half a serving of fruit for breakfast and lunch. And I get unlimited vegetables, and then I have to have at least 6 ounces of protein, right? So the half a serving of fruit is pretty self-explanatory. If I want to do 1.5 cups of berries, then I would only be able to do 3/4 cup of berries, right? In between your breakfast and your lunch, there is a protein shake that we want you to have. And then between your lunch and your dinner, there is also another protein shake. Your dinner is when you are going to get your serving of fat. So for the 1.75 plan, I would get a full serving of fat. So basically, if it says half a serving, then you would get half of whatever is listed, right? If it says 1.5 servings, then you would get 1.5 servings of what's listed. So if you're on the plan that says you get 1.5 servings of protein, that would mean that you would get 6 ounces of protein plus another 3 ounces of protein, right? Relatively self-explanatory. On your workout days, you are going to have a recovery shake, right? And then you are going to add a starchy carb, which is going to be in that starch or grain column. So right over here, it actually says right down here, add 1 serving to 1 meal on workout days. So basically on days that you work out, you are going to add a serving of starch or grains. And in that chart, those are all 1 serving, okay? And then while you do your workout, you're going to have a recovery shake while you do your workout, right? So on workout days, you're going to have 3 shakes, and you're going to add in a serving of starchy carbs. Okay. Spices, basically, you can use any spices you want for the most part. There are some spices we don't want you to use. When in doubt, just look at the list for the spices. Salt and pepper isn't on here, but salt and pepper you can use. The liquids, it's going to be hard for some of you guys, but we want you to go low to no caffeine for the 6 weeks, okay? A lot of people don't realize this, but caffeine does cause inflammation. It does cause bloating, especially if you're getting it from cheap, shitty coffee. So what I need you to do is basically you're going to stick with water, okay? If you really want to go the tea route, then you can do different teas that are listed on here. But we really want to try to get you guys to drastically reduce your caffeine intake during this 6 weeks, right? Now, a little bit about that. If you are a person who drinks 20 ounces of coffee every single day, then maybe go to 20 ounces of half coffee and half decaf, right? And then see how that goes. And then go to cut that in half. So you're at 10 ounces of half calf and half decaf. 10 ounces of calf and half decaf. You could also try something where, you would, again, if you're that person who drinks 20 ounces of coffee, just cut it in half, go to 10 ounces, right? Or go from 20 ounces on Monday to 15 ounces on Tuesday to 10 ounces on Wednesday to 5 ounces on Thursday to 0 on Friday, and then see how you feel. Okay, some of you might, if you're drinking a lot of caffeine, some of you might get, a little bit of a headache or some caffeine withdrawal. That's probably a sign that you need to cut back on your caffeine intake. Okay. A lot of people don't need as much caffeine as they really think they need. And it's usually hiding something that you need to address. Okay. So if you're only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep every night, chances are you're probably going to need 20 ounces of coffee right when you wake up in the morning. But that's not because you need the coffee. That's because you need to work on your sleep. Right. Okay. So no caffeine, 0 calorie drinks. So artificial sweeteners are fine. So if you want to do like a Coke Zero or something along those lines, that's okay. It's not ideal, but that's okay. Unless Coke Zero has caffeine. I don't drink Coke. I don't drink any soda, so I'm not really sure which has caffeine and which doesn't. But if it's a soda that has caffeine, don't drink that soda. Daily fluid intake. Women, you are going to be at 3 liters of fluid. Men, you are going to be at 4 liters of fluid. That's the minimum, right? 100 ounces is a pretty good number to shoot for. And that is all liquids. Okay, so that's water, that's the tea that you're going to be drinking, your recovery shakes, etc., etc. Okay, over on the back. So back to the sheet. There are basically a sample meal plan. Okay, so here's a sample meal plan. This would be a workout meal, right? And remember, you're not adding a workout meal in. You're just adding that starchy or grain carb onto your already existing meal. There are a couple supplements. This is with the new line of supplements that we are going to be bringing into the gym. These should be here on Monday or Tuesday. There are, let's see, there are 6 main ones. As far as the protein powder goes, okay, we do want you to have protein powder, or excuse me, we do want you to have protein. That protein needs to be, when it says, so on this particular plan, it says 1 serving, 20 grams of whey protein, right? It needs to be 20 grams of whey protein. It has to be under 110 calories, 120 calories max, right? If you're using our protein, you're already taken care of. If you want to go out and try and get a different type of protein, that's fine. You just have to make sure that it's 20 grams of protein per 120 calories max, right? So some of you guys have 1.5 servings of protein. So that would be 30 grams of protein. And that would be 30 grams of protein per 165 calories roughly, right? Because it's 1.5. Okay, cool. So supplements. All right. A couple different supplements. There are 2 supplements called Burn. One's a Burn AM and one's a Burn PM. When I get home at night, sometimes I need to eat like 800 calories, and it's very easy for me to over binge, right? I do tend to be a binge eater. I tell Jamie all the time, like, if food's on the counter, I'm going to eat it. That's just kind of, I just eat, right? And these are all things that we have been taking for the past couple months. One thing that I noticed with the Burn PM is I don't have late night cravings. And so it's usually like I get my food in and then I don't really have a craving for anything else, which is pretty cool, because I would routinely stay up for 15 or 20 minutes past when I told myself I was going to get ready for bed, and I would be like eating. So Burn AM is, it's a thermogenic fat burner, right? Basically, it's going to boost your metabolism. It's going to protect your muscle mass when you're in a low-calorie diet. It's going to maximize muscle building. You're basically going to be able to work a little bit harder in the gym. Okay. Each one of these supplements, we do break it down into short-term effects and long-term effects, but I'm just kind of giving you guys the overriding big picture. Burn PM is a late night cravings and fat burner, right? So drops down late night cravings. It is a fat burner also. You're going to supercharge fat loss and muscle growth. You're going to increase your energy. You will also increase your focus, and you should see an increase in your libido, which is pretty cool. You're going to decrease your estrogen production. Some of you that are worried about estrogen, we can talk about that. You can send a message to your coach, and they'll get it to me, or you can post it on the Facebook group, and we can talk about that whole estrogen thing. But don't be that concerned about it. Remember, anything that we're going to tell you guys to take, we've already tested on ourselves. We already done the research on it. We talked to manufacturers. We made sure that there's nothing that could potentially cause any kind of problems, right? Okay, let's see here. The new recovery shake is something called Intra, right? And so Intra is basically just going to drink this while you work out. It's going to help you recover faster. It's going to decrease soreness. It's going to increase your muscle tone. It's going to decrease fatigue. It's also going to help with your mood a little bit. Sometimes, you come into the gym, maybe you haven't eaten that well, you're a little bit low on energy, and we can tell. And your performance isn't there, right? And your mood's kind of crappy because you're a little bitchy because, frankly, you haven't eaten, right? You're a little hangry. So this is going to help with that, right? There are a multivitamin. So we are going to be transitioning over to this particular multivitamin, frankly, because we like it a lot more than the other stuff, and we think it's a better product. So basically, it's going to fill nutritional gaps. Listen, anytime that you're on a low-calorie diet, you have nutritional gaps, right? Or excuse me, nutritional gaps. That's just the nature of the beast. The less calories you eat, the less nutrients you get, right? So you almost have to, if you're trying to lose weight, you almost have to take a multivitamin. Well, I shouldn't say you almost have to. You do have to take a multivitamin if you want to make sure that you're getting all of the micronutrients and vitamins and minerals that you should be getting. You just simply put, the less food you eat, the less vitamins and minerals you get. So take a multivitamin. Let's see here. Okay, the next one's sleep multiplier. We are always playing around with sleep supplements because sleep is that important, right? So we have been using something called Phenotropic, which is still a great product. I've switched over to using this sleep multiplier because it has some things that the Phenotropic doesn't have. Specifically, it has some things to lower cortisol levels. So real quick, basically, cortisol is your stress hormone. It's very difficult to fall asleep if you're super stressed out. I know you know what I'm talking about, right? So generally speaking, as we progress throughout the day and as we get into the nighttime, our cortisol levels are supposed to decrease, right? And then as we get closer to when the sun comes up towards the morning hours, our cortisol levels are supposed to increase, because that's really supposed to be one of the ways that we're supposed to wake up, not with an alarm clock or kids screaming or something along those lines. We're really supposed to be getting up with the sun. And so our cortisol rhythm kind of goes this natural, it's called a natural internal circadian rhythm. So one of the cool things about the sleep multipliers, it does have a couple supplements in it that does help to basically tone down your stress level. I notice, so with the phenotropic, I like to read when I go to bed. And sometimes with the phenotropic, it doesn't really knock me out. Sometimes it does. But with the sleep multiplier, I notice that within about 20 minutes after I take the sleep multiplier, regardless of what I'm reading, regardless of how good it is, I am tired and I crash and I go right to bed. And so I've pretty much exclusively switched over to the sleep multiplier. And it does have some other things. It has a little bit of some chemicals in it to help, or some stuff in it to help you burn fat while you're sleeping. It's going to lower your sugar levels, which is going to help with fat loss. And it has some hormone optimization in it too. And then the last one's last minute cleanse. This is kind of cool because this is, we've been using it because I have a couple GI issues that are related to when I went through chemotherapy. And so like kind of my GI system is a little bit of a mess, and I do end up having a pretty profound reaction to a lot of different foods where I'll get bloated or stomach cramps. And so the last minute cleanse it's actually only a 14-day. You're only supposed to take it for 14 days. That's not that you're going to feel anything bad. It's just that's just how they manufactured it. I actually take it every day because I notice a huge difference in how my stomach feels in terms of bloating if I eat food that I may or may not supposed to be eating. Sometimes I eat food that it's okay on Monday, but on Tuesday it causes me to bloat up. And so you can take a last minute cleanse throughout the 6 weeks. I have been doing it for the past couple months. Or you could either front load it for the first 14 days, or you could backload it for the 14 days before the challenge ends, right? So last minute cleanse is basically, it's going to help you detox. It's going to help you cleanse yourself out. You are going to drop bloat like crazy. You're going to drop water weight like crazy. And you're going to feel lighter because basically you're not going to have as much kind of weight in your belly area, right? All right, guys, that is the diet. I told myself I wanted to try and keep this under 20 minutes because I know y'all got shit to do, and nobody wants to sit and listen to me ramble for over 20 minutes talking about food and diet. So if you guys have any questions, please post them in the group. If it's a really personal question that you don't feel comfortable posting in the group, you can shoot a message to your accountability coach, and then they can get back to you. And if they feel as though it's something that is a little bit outside of what they feel comfortable talking to you about, then I'll reach out to you, and we'll figure out that way. All right, guys, you are all going to do awesome. Ready to kick some ass, and looking forward to it. Thanks.